Hey, what's going on YouTube? Alabama Reloader here. So I'm at the range. If you watched the video on the introduction to this rifle, then you already know what's up on the bench. It is the Mossberg 4x4 barrel and action. It's in a AG Composites stock with a Osprey Global 10 to 40 by 50, I believe, scope on top, and then I added a Harris bipod to it just to come out and shoot at the range today. As you can hear, there's other folks here at the range today, so hopefully everything will come through in terms of sound and volume and clarity and everything. But I went ahead and shot one round with the core lock, the Remington core lock ammo that guy had given me to go along with the rifle. Gave me about 15 rounds to go with it. It's the 150 grain stuff. I shot one just to make sure that I was on paper, and pretty much almost dead on at 100, just like he told me it would be, so kudos to him. But I'm going to shoot a few more, and I'm going to show you exactly why. I mentioned in the video that the Remington core lock is, so on top of the 30-06 being the cartridge that I probably dislike the most, the Remington core lock ammo is the factory ammunition that I dislike the most as well. So, and I'll show you why after I get done shooting this. So. All right, so 5-shot group. Out of the 5 pieces of brass, or out of the 5 rounds that I shot, 3 of them have splits in the neck. These 2 are very severe. I mean, that's ridiculous. And I inspect each cartridge before I shoot it. Everything's perfectly fine. So again, this is why, for people that are like, what in the world? You know, why is he hating on Remington core lock ammo? Because hooty hoo, I mean, you know, he promotes the stuff left and right, which is fine. I'm pretty sure he's sponsored by Remington, so I don't blame him, right? I mean, whatever you got to do. But, and their new stuff is probably pretty good. I don't know how old this box is. It had a price tag on it of $30, you know, for Remington Core Lock 30-06 ammo. That stuff used to be pretty cheap. That was one of the cheapest, you know, boxes of factory ammo you could buy, which is why a lot of people use it. Now the bullet that they shoot, the Core Lock bullet, is a really good bullet. It's just, it's pretty sad that they would package everything else to go with that bullet in such a garbage manner, right? Like, this is incredible. 3 out of the 5. Look at that. That's after it was shot, right? Then I look and just, I mean, that's ridiculous, right? This one, the third one, I'm not gonna be able to get it on camera, but it had a little bit of a split up near the mouth of the case, right? But these other two, it's just ridiculous how badly those two split. And then I had 2 out of the 5 that were perfectly fine and looked like they'd be fine to reload. So there you go. That's kind of part of the reason why I've never been a big fan of the Remington Core Lock, the factory ammunition. I'm sure what they're putting out now is possibly much better, but again, this box has a price tag of $30 on it, so it's not like it's an old box of ammunition. So it's fairly recent, right? I'm sure that's COVID pricing. You know, it definitely wasn't $30 pre-COVID. So all right, well, I'm going to pause the video now. I'm actually going to switch over and shoot some velocity / pressure test rounds with my Winchester Model 70 in 7mm Win Short Mag, and then I will resume the video when I shoot a few hand loads, and after that we'll go down and take a look at the target. So y'all stay tuned. All right, YouTube. So heading back home from the range. I got done shooting the 30-06, so I shot, it ended up being, we'll go over everything when I get back home, but something came to my mind as I was driving, and I just wanted to kind of capture the thoughts on video. So one of the things is that today's Sunday, and went to church this morning, had a great service. One of the associate pastors there at church, he brought the message this morning, and he did an amazing job, like he always does. I mean, the preaching at the church is just, it's on point and on time every Sunday. So that's one of the things I love about the church that I go to, Sheepgate Christian Fellowship over in Paint Rock Valley, Alabama. And it's an amazing place, a fellowship of worship, all the above. But the message today was that you have to guard your heart, right? Because there's so many things nowadays that, you know, that can distract you from, you know, what God's plan and purpose that he has for your life. And there's so many things, you know, you just look around. You don't even have to look around, because the distractions will come without even you looking for them, right? You'll be bombarded with anything and everything under the sun. And so the message was guard your heart, and it's one of those where, you know, it's a very simple message, but there's so many layers to it, right? There's so many things that you have to watch out for, and you have to be mindful of, and little things that you don't think about. So one of the tangible things, I guess a practical step that I just wanted to share with everyone, an example in my life, right, of guard your heart, and what that means to me on a personal level is something as simple as, you know, your radio in your vehicle, right? And in this particular one, I've got 6 presets, right? One through 6, and I have gone through and pretty much I've gotten so all 6 of my presets on my radio are set to Christian radio stations. So a couple of them are redundant. It depends on where you're at in Huntsville. One picks up a little bit better than the other one, but pretty much the surrounding areas. Make sure I look both ways so that way I don't get destroyed trying to video this. Pretty much you know, anywhere within, I guess, I don't know the radius, but pretty much in the Huntsville area, North Alabama area, I'm pretty well covered no matter where I travel to. You know, all I have to do is adjust my, you know, hit one of my presets and the station's coming in loud and clear. And it's been like that. My radio has been set like that for the past few years. This is something that I did probably a few years ago. And I love music. I love all types of music. I mean, it doesn't really matter to me. I'll listen to just about anything. And I did for the longest time. But this kind of goes hand in hand with the Guard Your Heart message is, you know, whatever you're feeding yourself, right? That's what's, whatever you're putting in, that's what's going to be coming out. And for me, for a long time, I struggled with my language, and not necessarily the English language. That's a tough enough language as it is. Obviously, you guys hear that when I'm speaking on the videos. But on top of that, it is, you know, the words I would speak, right? I used to cuss a lot and that type of thing, just foul language. And it, you know, I got called out on it one day, and I'll never forget it. And it was a turning point in my life, right? And it probably seemed like a small thing to the gentleman that did it, but at the job that I had previously, I was blessed to be surrounded by a group of older guys who were just amazing mentors. We called ourselves the Breakfast Club. So these guys are, you know, in their 50s, you know, mid to late 50s, early 50s. There was 4 of them, and then there was me, and I was the youngest of the group, and I'm 34 now. But this was a few years ago when I was at that job. Oh, probably longer than that. Probably maybe 5 years ago now. 5 or 6. Wow, time flies. So I was in my late 20s when this was going on, and we would eat breakfast together every single day. Pretty much eat breakfast and lunch together at work every day. And you know, I just had a really foul mouth, and I would just cuss and just sentences, you know, just in normal conversation. I would use cuss words. And one of the guys, my buddy Keith, I'll never forget it, I said something, and I dropped an F-bomb. And it, you know, he just stopped what he was doing, and he said, hey, son, if you can't get your point across without cussing, he said, then we probably don't need to hear it. And that's all he said, and that's all he had to say. Because in the moment that he said that, I was like, wow, that's a pretty profound statement. You know, and it's something that I had struggled with up until that point, because it was one of those things where I was like, man, I really do need to kind of clean up that language. And when he said that, I was like, you know what, that's so convicting, right? And I'm so appreciative of the fact that he did that, right? I think a lot of times people, you know, you can get offended. Somebody tries to correct you, man, when they try to correct you out of love, hey, that's nothing to be offended about, right? That's them doing their job. And I'm so appreciative of my buddy Keith, and that he did that he just said, hey, you know what? There's really no point in that, right? I don't want to hear it. You don't need to say it. Whatever you're saying, trust me, it can be said without using cuss words. And if it can't, then it don't need to be said. And so that was really profound. And I do appreciate him, you know, holding me accountable on that, because ever since then, you know, I've made a concerted effort to remove those words from my language, and I've done, in my opinion, an amazing job of that. And one of the things, back to sort of the tangible, practical use of Guard Your Heart, right, and implementation, a key takeaway that you guys can implement in your daily life would be something like changing the presets on your radio, right? Changing them to Christian stations. Because I'm in my vehicle a lot, I'm driving around a lot, always running errands, taking the kids different places, going to work, doing whatever. Even when I travel, right, same deal. I'm seeking out those Christian radio stations, and it's something that is a constant reminder, right? Instead of garbage in, garbage out, right? Now it's you're being filled with the Holy Spirit nonstop when you're in your vehicle, you know, and you're commuting or whatever, because that can be a stressful thing to do, right? Especially if you drive in heavy traffic daily. Oh man, talk about the stress level that comes from that. And so when you change something, and it seems so very simple, right? But it's very profound, and I would encourage anyone that's listening to this or watching this video to just give it a try, right? Just change your radio station. Seek out K-Love is one. It's the local station here that I love to listen to. It's 103.5 in Huntsville. But I mean, there's so many good options out there. But seek. And oh, by the way, yes, I'm turning right without stopping. You guys saw the stop sign, but there's a sign under it. The way this road is, you actually turn right without stopping. So that way, the YouTube police doesn't point that out. I already know that, but that's how that intersection is handled. So yeah, I want to encourage anyone, right, that you know, that is listening to this or watching this, you know, give that a try. Just see how that works for you. And you know, that just kind of goes back to a practical, because a lot of times, you know, you'll be sitting there, you'll hear a message, or maybe you'll be at church and it'll be a great message, but then you're like, well, how do I apply that, right? What is a real world application of the principles that I've been learning? What does that even look like, right? How can I implement it into my life? Well, this is just one example, and it's an example that has been, I mean, massively beneficial in my own life personally. And do I miss listening to, you know, all the radio stations that I used to listen to and all the music that I used to? Sure, I mean, yeah, you know, but do I miss it enough to go back to that? No, because for me personally, this is something that I need to do day in and day out, is to continually be filled with positivity in terms of the music that I listen to. And you have to be careful. So that's part of that whole guard your heart thing, right? Is you have to be careful about what you're listening to, because like I said, the example where if maybe you're stuck in traffic all the time and you're leaving, it's rush hour traffic and it's bumper to bumper, that stuff can wear you down. You can be so frustrated, and then somebody cuts you off. Well, if you're jamming out to, you know, Rage Against the Machine, Killing in the Name of, you know, which we used to jam out to all the time, you know, something like that, or Last Resort, Papa Roach, whatever, right? If you're jamming out to some of that stuff and somebody cuts you off in traffic, you're probably going to be pretty amped up already, and you're talking about some road rage, right? That stuff, it will be beneficial to you in terms of getting amped up and getting super frustrated and mad and all that. But yeah, when you're sitting here being filled up, right, with this type of music, right, then, and someone cuts you off, I have found this personally, it's just a lot easier to just let it roll off my back than it used to be, right? So there you go. All right, made it home. Let me get inside, get everything set up, and I will show you guys the results from today's range trip. So y'all hold tight. All right, so made it in the house, and just want to kind of go over the range results, which I'm not really putting a whole lot of stock or weight or anything in any of this stuff, simply because, let's see, so I think out on the range I might have said I had 15 rounds of the core lock. It was 11, so it's 11. These 11 here were the Remington core lock 150 grain, and then I had 3 rounds. They were Hornady. I have no idea what they were. I don't know if they were some type of ELDX stuff. They had a red tip, but the red tip was more like an AMAX tip, right? Because the AMAX has a slightly lighter shade red tip versus the ELDX or the ELD match. So I'm not 100% sure, but these 3 were Hornady, some type of red tip ammo. Have no idea what it was. And then this is just one lone piece of Federal. It was a Federal Fusion, just, you know, one piece of it. So this is the target that I ended up shooting. The one Federal, the lone Federal guy shot right up there, point of aim, point of impact. These 3 here and these 4 here were some random hand loads. I had loaded up, it's been forever ago it seems like, but I loaded up the Sierra Game Changer, the 125 grain Game Changer, just because I had them, right? That was the only reason I did it. So I shot 3 there. That was like, I don't even know the charge weight. I think it's 50.3 grains, but I've forgotten the powder at this point in time. I'm sure I got it written down somewhere. And then this four shot group, I loaded up 4 because I was going to capture 1 velocity shot just to see what it was, but I didn't really even care to do that because I'm not going to load this stuff up in 30-06. And then the 11 core lock are right here. Now this looks a lot uglier than 11 shots. That's because I had to cover it up with a whole lot of these little black circles, you know, black dots. This is a target that was already there. It was in the building out at the range, and I just needed something to shoot. And the center of this was pretty well shot out from whoever used it last, but the surrounding, the other 4 were in pretty good shape. So I was like, well, this will work great. I just need to cover up this center, and then I'll use that just to make sure I'm on paper. Well, and then I shot the first round, and then from there I was like, you know what, I'll just shoot the remaining 10, you know, and see how it looks. And so it wasn't too bad. I mean, you know, you're probably talking, what is that, 3.5? Yeah, that's probably a 3.5 inch group, you know, something like that. Close to maybe just over 3 inch group. Yeah, probably just over 3 inch group for 11 shots of the Remington core lock, which is not terrible. That's about what I expect. I mean, that stuff is not good ammunition. I'm sorry, it's just not. If it works great for you every single time you shoot it, and you've put, you know, 500 rounds of it down range in your lifetime, and it's always shot amazing for you, that's wonderful. You are a rare individual. Because for me, and the experience that I've had with it, it has always been pretty bad. So, but it was pretty well sighted in, just like the guy said it was. It was pretty much dead on, close to it. Like I said, these are the 125 grain Game Changers. We're not worried about those because not even going to fool with it. Core lock there. These were the 3 Hornady shots. So not great, but not terrible. Yeah, so I think we can work with this. I think there's definitely going to be some really good loads that we can dial in for this guy. One of the things you'll notice, hopefully it comes through on the footage when I was shooting, is the recoil on this thing, very minimal, thanks to this muzzle brake. The recoil felt on par with my 6.5 Creedmoor, the Kimber that I have. That's a 5.5 pound rifle. And so even in something that doesn't recoil very hard like the 6.5 Creedmoor, when you put it in a 5.5 pound rifle, it's got a little bit of bite to it, but not, I mean, it's perfectly fine. It feels great. And this was pretty much the same way due to that muzzle brake. I mean, the shooting it was, I had no issue shooting it whatsoever. Now, someone did comment on the previous video about how far back this scope was. Now, this is how it was when I got it, right? So I haven't made any adjustments to this whatsoever. But I might, and part of that too is the eye box on this thing is not very forgiving. And so I might, I don't know how long I'm going to leave this scope on there, right? We'll leave it at that. I mean, it goes from 10 to 40. It's just very, very much an impractical scope for the type of shooting that I do. I think we can find something else to go on here with a little bit better eye relief. Like I said, when it comes time to go hunt, with this thing, it'll have the Leupold 2 to 7 by 33 on there, with some 1-inch rings and stuff. So that'll definitely be nice. That'd be a great hunting setup, in my opinion. Make for a great hunting setup. But this stock and the way everything is molded and set up, your cheek fits nicely on the stock, and everything is just, it's very comfortable to shoot. So 2 thumbs up. If I could hold my other thumb up, I would, but it's holding the phone. So that's it. That's where we're going to leave it. Oh, I did mention how bad the core lock. Yeah, let me see. Because I know these two, I think the 3 that I showed you out on the range were the only 3 I had out of the 11 that split. But still, if you have any that split, that's terrible. So, I mean, look at that. That is horrendous. Like, how's that even happen? Remington, how's that even happen? I mean, that's ridiculous, right? So, again, just kind of goes back to why I'm not a big fan of it. So, that's it. That's where we're going to leave it. I have a ton of 30 cal bullets that we can work up loads for and test out in this particular rifle. I think this is going to be a really good shooter. I do. The trigger pull doesn't seem very heavy. I don't know, maybe around 4 pounds or something like that. It's not overly heavy. It's not super light. I mean, it's not something like my Kimber or anything like that, but it's a nice, comfortable trigger pull. And again, with that muzzle brake on there, this thing is really pleasant to shoot. Now the barrel heats up very quickly. It is fluted, but I mean, you shoot a 3-shot group and the barrel is pretty warm. So whenever we do load development, you guys will probably see a whole lot of 3-shot groups. That way we can just cause as much controversy as possible here in the YouTube reloading world of, you know, small sample size is the worst thing you can ever do. So that's what we're going to do. All right, that's it. That's where we're going to leave it. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we will catch y'all next time. Y'all have a good one.